Idaho's Governor Brad Little is proud of the state's finances. He sent out a news release last week talking about Idaho closing the fiscal year with revenue exceeding forecasts and maintaining the highest AAA credit rating for Moody's. But all that follows some tough budget cuts. Last year, about this time, the governor made across-the-board cuts to state agencies when they all learned they were not going to have enough money. And then there was more belt tightening this past legislative session, more cuts. Well, I sat down with the governor to talk about those cuts, what did not get cut, why a pile of rainy day funds was not used, and what we might expect in the budget this year. You unveiled your Enduring Idaho plan back in January, and now you're pretty proud of how it all worked out. Talk to me about that.
We protected public education, we protected water, we protected public safety, all those critical things. But elsewhere we made some adjustments and we ended up the year in great shape.
You talked about revenue growth, but also in that same news release from about a week ago, you talked about slowing revenue growth. Why is that happening?
Well, it's slowing relative to what it was at that period of time when we were having just record incomes.
Even some Republicans, members of your own party, talked about dipping into rainy day funds, one-time funds, saying that, hey, we can use that while, as you say, it's going to, the economy is going to be invigorated, you know, by these cuts for small business owners, families, et cetera, so they can sort of cover that gap. That didn't happen. Not a fan of that. Why not?
Well, I've been around for a little while, and rainy day funds are when it's really raining.
Okay.
There were a couple clouds, but it's not raining. I was here when it rained. I was here when 15 years ago, 17 years ago, when our revenue just went flat to negative.
Some people might be a little worried when they hear about that we still have these rainy day funds. It's like, no, we got to keep them. Is it because you expect there to be full rain storms on the horizon?
I guarantee it. I'll bet someday the economy is going to slow down. I mean, look at the stock market. There's hardly an economist out there that says we're going to continue on the same trajectory. It's just the right thing to do. It's what you do with whether it's your business or your family. You have money saved for a rainy day.
Critics, though, have criticized, sort of their job, budget cuts to Medicaid reimbursement, pardons, parole, treatment courts, seasonal firefighters, Meals on Wheels. How do you respond to that?
The legislature said we've got to rein in the growth of Medicaid. It's the biggest, fastest growing part of our state budget. Legislature said we're going to make some changes. We did make some changes. Federal government said they're going to make some changes. We did make some changes. I am concerned about the health care, but simultaneously, in the one big beautiful bill, we're getting about $200 million a year to plow into rural health, which is those hospitals, a lot of the long-term care, a lot of those. So the balance of the $200 million a year in rural health care and those adjustments, I think will be all right. There's some people that are not getting reimbursed the same rate they were before, but a lot of those are mandates in law by either the feds or the state legislature. Pardons and paroles, they did take a little bit of a cut, but to my knowledge, our backlog of parole hearings is where we want it to be. We're not in, but prisons, we exempted the prisons.
Education spending that got away largely unscathed, maybe totally unscathed, but they're saying, boy, with inflation, even keeping us where we were sort of feels like a cut.
Oh, that's fair. I want to put more money into public schools. This is the time of year when our State Board of Education and the Superintendent of Public Instruction, and we get together to say, what are we going to do next? Where's the next place to put new dollars into K-12 and higher education to move the needle?
We seem to be in a pretty good place last year, right about now, and then there were those cuts by executive order. What can you tell Idahoans that might be worried about something like that happening again?
Well, it won't happen now. unless something radical happens, because we look at the budget numbers almost every day. So we don't have, and we didn't know the impact of the great big beautiful bill. So there was a lot of unknowns that we need to plan for. We've got less unknowns going forward. But remember, we've got the highest increase in personal wages. We've got the highest increase of all the states in personal incomes. People need to be pretty happy about those things, because wages and personal incomes are really important. We're going to do our job responsibly to govern the state, to provide the critical services of public safety, of roads, of infrastructure, and particularly of education, our number one goal, what we do in the healthcare area. But we're not going to spend money that we don't have and put us into a place to where we have to raise taxes or make a draconian cut. We're not going to do that. We're just planning for the future.
Now, we also talked to the governor about funding to support wildland firefighting. Next week, we're going to hear from the governor about why he says it's not just important on how much funding there is to fight wildfires, but when that money is available.